Hello, it's Crafty Carol here from Northern Ireland with another couple of little projects to you. These are the ones we actually made in my in-person class yesterday, but I thought I'd show you and pop them on the blog so you can see them. And I'm using this gorgeous Latte Love set again because I have fallen completely in love with it. Latte Love. I do like coffee, but I just love the set. It comes as a suite with all sorts of other bits. There's the paper that I showed you last week. I won't go through it all again there, but you can see it online. The gorgeous ribbon we'll be using and the lovely self-adhesive swirly dots. So the stamp set itself, there's all of these stamps, which are gorgeous, and it comes with a whole set of dies which cut out the stamps, plus a whole load of other things, again, that I showed you last week. Have a look at my previous videos if you want to see some of those dies in use, because I'm using mainly the stamp set today. So we're going to make a card and a box, and I'm hoping there's time for both. If not, it'll end up as 2 videos. So I'm using Pecan Pie stamping stamp pad, ink pad, and I've got all my stamps ready, and I've also done quite a lot of the prep. So I am making, whoops, ooh, getting all my bits. This is a strip of the DSP that I've already cut out. It's on the back of the swirly pink paper, and I've cut that out, cut just as a strip. I've also cut a base card, which is my usual 21 by 14.8, scored at 10.5, or 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25, for those who prefer to work in inches. Then we have one layer, and this is the new basic beige colour, which is just lovely and obviously matches coffee beautifully. And that is the normal first layer, which is 10 centimetres by 14.3 or 4 inches by 5.25 inches. I've also got a scrap of white for my sentiment. I've already stamped the spoon stamp on a scrap of, a very old scrap of white. It's already had a spoon cut out of it. I've cut one of the cups with the coffee art on. That's out of the DSP. You can cut it out with a die. I actually fussy cut this because I wanted to get quite close into the edge, and the die actually just put a bit of a rim round it. So I've fussy cut that, and then I have die cut the coffee cup and the little coffee to go in it, which I showed you again on the previous video. But just a tip, if you haven't seen that, to put the coffee on the mug, put a couple of little dots of liquid glue, and then use the end of your take a pick tool to pick up the coffee and put it on the cup in order to stick it down. That's by far the easiest way to go and avoids getting too much glue on your fingers. I guess you can guess why I found that out. So I just want to finish the stamping here, or more or less finish the stamping. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and I'm using the sentiment from the set, the hello there. Hello there, let's catch up. So I'm just going to stamp that in the centre of this piece. And this piece is about 2 centimetres by just over 9. Yeah, 2 centimetres by just over 9, or in inches, that's about 3/4 of an inch by 3.5 inches. Yeah, about 3.5 inches. So I've also already stamped my mug because that doesn't have it does have a die, but there isn't a mug on the paper you can just cut out. So I do need to colour that. So obviously I don't need to colour those bits. I've coloured the spoon, and I've used crumb cake to colour the spoon. I'm going to colour the mug. I think probably I'm going to use Petal Pink. Or I could use Lost Lagoon and match. Oh, let's have it all matching. Lost Lagoon. We'll go with Lost Lagoon. So I've got my stamping blends here. So I've got the dark one and the light one. And just to remind you that there are 2 ends in the stamping blend. Hold it that way so you don't see my... I use these little Velcro dots to keep them together, the pairs, so they don't get too lost in my box. So we've got a thin end and we've got a thick brush end. And I tend to use the thin end most of the time, to be honest. But for a big thing like this, I shall probably use the thicker end. Hang on, I've forgotten to do something, which is stamp my coffee in the middle. There is a stamp. It's a lovely swirly stamp. Let me show you on here what it's going to look like. That one, and that stamps coffee into the coffee mug. So again, that's one of the reasons I left that open. Of course it is. So luckily they're clear, so we can see through it. So I can line it up with the edge of the mug and just press that down, and there we have our coffee in our mug, which is lovely. come to think of it, I could do with one now. I need to go and make one after I've done this video. So now I've got my coffee in my mug, I can start to colour in. So I'm going to start with the light, and I nearly always start with the light and then bring the dark in. People have different ways of colouring, and I did show you this on another video too, so I'm not going to be too careful with it. But obviously when it's a big area like this, I am going to use the brush end because it colours it in quicker. It does dry a slightly different, a slightly lighter colour. All of these inks do. So let me just finish that. Ooh, it's amazing how my hand starts shaking when I'm doing it on camera. I coloured another mug in, which you'll see in a minute, without any shaking at all. Oh, goodness me. Right. And we'll just use, again, the tip of this to do a little bit of highlighting where we think the shadows might be. So there'll be shadows under the rim and down the side of the mug. There's a little bit of a shadow there. We can use the edge of the marks on the stamp itself to guide. That's one of the reasons they make the stamps like this, because it guides us rather beautifully. So this one down this side. And then there will be a little bit of dark on the inside of the handle there. It's not done terribly brilliantly. And then just to blend all of those darks in, I usually go over a little bit more with the lighter colour. Again, I'm using the thin end again, just to bring that in and just tidy up that edge and leave the sort of lighter colour in the middle, which is where the light would fall. So that is the mug. I am going to go and use the die to cut it out, and I will be back in just a second. So here's my mug all cut out. So there's only 2 more bits of stamping left to do. And oh, just need the other ink pad. So I'm going to use basic beige because I want to put a background on this. I think often I'll use DSP as a layer on a card because it's a bit more fun to see really. But I want to make my own background using this rather nice stamp. So I'm using basic beige. So I'm doing colour on colour, tone on tone. And I'm using, this stamp is like a coffee ring. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to have a few coffee rings just dotted about. Not too many, we don't have too many over things, but just randomly, very randomly, because we want them, oh, we'll have quite a few actually, because I quite like this stamp. It's very difficult to do it randomly. You get the idea, just very quickly. So I've got a bit of fun going on there. Actually, I'm going to fill it all in. What the heck? Oh, I quite like that. I'm just going to keep having fun with this. I'm going to put more in than I wasn't going to do that many, but actually, I quite like the idea of that now. Quite like the background that produces. Okay, right, that was fun. Oh, dearie me. Sometimes I get carried away, but I quite like that. You could put fewer or more on, totally up to you. Let's make up the card. Right, so this is just going to stick on as normal. Oh, I haven't got my spoon out either. That's a stamp spoon. There is a die for the spoon. I actually find that I don't like the edge that it leaves around it, so I tend to fussy cut them out anyway. Totally up to you. If you don't mind your edge, you can use the die. Probably be quicker. But at least on the video, I can rush through the fussy cutting the spoon, so you don't need to watch it too much. Now I'm going to stick this down the side. I'm just having this as a strip, so I'll put it on and then I can trim it. It is, oh, how long is it? 16 centimetres or just over 6 inches, so 6.5 inches. So it just needs to be tall enough to go on there. You could cut it to size if you wanted, which is 14.8 centimetres, but I wanted it a little bit longer because I am sticking it over the top of another layer, and it just might make an exactly cut one just look a little bit too small. So I'd rather cut it too big and then trim it, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to stick that down the side, and again you can measure this if you want to be exact with it. So I'll stick that right down to the very edge. So I'm going over the edge of the layer. And then I can open the card and just trim off the excess exactly level with the card. Like that. Let's get rid of those sticky bits because I did put glue on the whole thing, obviously. So that's my strip down, and then we need to add these bits. Now, for the sentiment, I'm actually going to have it stuck under the thing, so I want to flag this end of it. And I think I've shown you this before. I'm going to just trim off a little bit because I don't want it too big a flag, just a bit of one. And the easy way to do it, or the way I like to do it to get it exact, use your board. It's 2 centimetres wide, we know that, and I'm going to have it about 1 centimetre in. So I'm just going to put a little mark, 1 centimetre down and 1 centimetre across, and then I can use that to cut. Check I'm cutting the right end, yes I am. So we can use that just to cut from one corner in like that, and I've got an exact banner edge. Okay, so I'm going to trim this bit off a little bit as well, don't want it quite that long. There we go. So I'm going to stick my banner on first, and I'm going to give it a little bit of shape. I quite like these things that stick up a little bit. So I'm going to use the edge of my bone folder just to scrape one way and then the other. And that gives me a nice little bendy banner. Should call it a bendy banner. Don't know what to call it. Bendy banner will do. So a little bit of glue just on the flat end, which is the bit that's going to stick down. I want the rest of the banner to stick up. So I'm going to stick that up just about there. Yeah. Stick that down. And then I'm going to stick my other bits on top. So I've got I have just about left room. Perhaps bring that over a bit. Thank goodness for Tombow. There we go, bring that over a bit. Then I'm going to stick these down, some of them on one of them on dimensionals. I am actually going to stick the mug down flat because I'm going to bring some steam coming out of the top. So I'm going to stick my mug down first. Whoops, throwing everything around today. So a little bit of glue on the back of that. I'm going to have my mug about here, sticking up there. So just over the edge of the banner, which is fine. I'm going to lose a little bit of the bend in that, but that's okay. And then I can just stamp my steam coming out. I've just managed to get ink all over my finger. That's not good if I touch my card. Just wipe that off quick. Be careful not to touch a card with that finger, I don't think. So that's coming off the mug. So I've got my steam coming off. That's upside down. Oh, well, never mind. Does it really matter for steam? Yeah, well, you could always get it the right way up. That might look better. But anyway, it'll do for now. So then I'm going to stick this on flat. It's got those coffee stains on the back. That's where I got the idea for the background. So we'll have that on like that. And then we've got our spoon, which I haven't yet cut out, and I shall just do very quickly. I'm going to stick that one down flat as well. I'll have the spoon like that. And then I am going to put a dimensional under the cup, and I'll have that raised. That's actually the only thing I have raised. I suppose I could have raised the mug. Okay. So I'm having my cup just here, like that. There we go. So there is my very simple card. Close that before I put my finger in it again. I haven't used any other ribbon or any other embellishments. You could use a few little dots dotted around. Should I add a couple of dots? I might actually, just because they're here, and why not? As people who watch me regularly will know, I quite often forget to put my gems on, so that's not good. I'm going to use the coloured gems because it'll add a little bit to my, let's have a couple there. and one down here somewhere. Yeah. Just bend that a little bit more. I don't want it sticking up there. That's better. So there is my simple card. Now I haven't put anything inside. I'm actually going to just very quickly do that. I'm going to just use my pecan pie again, which is I'd used the basic beige for the front, but I'm actually going to make a bit more of these coffee rings. I'll have one just stamped off like that. We could do the same on the envelope. I often forget to show you how to decorate envelopes, which is just silly. So let's have some coffee rings on the envelopes as well. Like that. I like that. I really like the coffee ring one. I don't know why. Just sometimes you see a stamp and you think, I really like that. Perhaps it's because I make coffee rings on most of my mats. But anyway, so that's my envelope and my card. There we go. So I've got a little bit of, I've got dimensions in those and in that, and just with that sticking up, as I say, you could put that up on dimensionals. It's up to you, but I quite liked that. It might look even better with the steam the right way up, but hey, it'll do for now. So that's the card we made yesterday as you're seeing this, and I've made a box to go with it. So let me just move a few things so I've got some room and I will show you the box. Just put the card there for a minute. So again, I've done most of the preparation already for the box. So a couple of bits of ribbon, and these are approximately 8 or 9 centimetres, 9 centimetres-ish. Then I've got a stitched shape circle, stylish shape circle, one of the ones with the dots in, hope you can see that. Didn't want anything too much on there, so I didn't use some of the new dies, which are a bit too much over the top. Then I've stamped the cup and stamped the coffee inside and just die cut that out. Did a mug again in exactly the same way as I did the previous one. There's my spoon, done again, same way as before. And then I've got my die cut little cup. And this time I've used Thanks So Much. And I just angled the ends of that ready for the top. And then you want a strip of the DSP or any matching DSP. And that is 3 inches wide by 7 or 8 inches long, something like that. Whatever you've got, it needs to be at least 6.5 inches. But 7 is probably better to give a little bit more wiggle room, if you like. And then we need the bit for the box itself. And this is, again, using the basic beige, because I thought it would match the card nicely. So it's 6 by 6, very simply. And I've used my scoreboard. I've already actually done the scoring. So it's scored at, on one side, it's scored at 1 inch. Let me just check. I've got these written down. Yeah, 1 inch, 2 3/4 inches, 3 3/4 inches, and 5.5 inches. And on the other side at 1 and 5. And we're going to shape it. And if you want to take a screenshot, you can see where we're going to cut it, I hope. I've just scribbled on this with pencil. So we've got the lid of the box and the main bit of the box. So we're going to take out the 2 panels either side of the thinner edge, and then we're going to miter these 4 tabs. So you'll see what it's like when I just cut it now. So when I say miter, I just mean you take out just a little triangle on both sides of the tab. So you've got a little tab like that. So we do that on both sides. And on this centre one. And that one I can just cut like that because I'm going to take all of this out. I'm just cutting up my score lines and, as I say, mitering these ones that are going to be the box fixing tabs. So, and then the final bit of cutting, just on the end of this, which is going to tuck in, I find it was better just to shape the ends. And I've marked it as a miter, but actually if you just use your scissors to curl around the edge, and it doesn't need to be exact, but it just helps the box to fit in. So there's all the bits cut. So it needs to look like that when you've cut it. I hope that wasn't too quick for everybody, and I hope everybody sort of saw what I've done. I completely forgot to fold and burnish my folds before I did the cutting, but that doesn't matter too much. I can still use the cut lines to make sure that when I'm doing my folding, that it is still, I'm keeping everything very straight, which is important. So use the edges. Yeah, make sure that it's exact, because it's going to be a box, and so you want to be as exact as you can be with the scoring and folding. And then we just need to fold these tabs in at the side, on both sides. So it's only a little box, but it's a rather sweet little box. So once we've got that folded and burnished, the way I do it is I fold in the side tabs, and then I'm just going to put some glue on them. And actually I might just trim those a bit, because they're going to overlap otherwise, which probably doesn't matter, they're going to be inside the box. But you could trim these down a little bit if you wanted, and you could use different glue. I'm just using, because it's on the desk, I'm just using the Tombow for speed here. So I'm going to put glue on each of those. And then the key with boxes is, as you fold them in, make sure that the edges are exact. Make sure that it is an exact edge, so that it's a real square edge. Can you see that? So that butts up exactly against there. Just hold it for a second if you're using Tombow to make sure it's stuck. Same at the front, line them up and then press to stick the tab down and hold it for a second. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Line it up, then press the tab down. And the same at the front, line it up and then press the tab down. And that is the box, and it's just a very simple box that you can either leave that sticking out, because we're going to put a belly band around it, or it will actually tuck in if you prefer to tuck it in, which is why I do the edge. The only thing with tucking it in, it's a little bit more difficult to open. So I think because we're going to use a belly band, I'm just going to leave mine open like that. So that's the simple box, and then we're going to add the belly band. And we want this to be secure enough to hold the box, but not so that it'll fall off. So I'm going to turn the box upside down because I want the joins somewhere near the bottom. I may have to trim this a bit because it might be just a bit too long. And I'm just using my fingers to roughly mark, I am going to trim this, where the folds will be. Okay, so let me just trim that across a little bit. I don't really want it double on there. So perhaps 7 inches is better. I think these are 8 inches. It just happened to be the strip I had. So I'll bring this one up again and just fold it with my fingers against the box. Fold it over. And I am going to trim that bit as well. Just going to use my trimmer to do that. So yeah, 7 inches, folks. Don't make it any more. So you can see that I've just very vaguely just folded that round the box, because I don't want it to be sitting tight around the box, but I do want it to hold the box closed. So when you're wrapping it round, just hold it loosely, and then I am just going to use a couple of bits of tear and tape on the edges of each bit. So edges of the underneath bit, pointing upwards. So put my tear and tape there, then I'm going to put it on the inside of this other bit, because that's going to be over the top. So we'll just put a bit on there as well. And then holding it round the box still, I can take off both bits of the topping there. So don't squeeze this hard, remember, that's important. Forgot to take that one off. Ooh. Take that off first, silly. There we go. So I'm placing the box inside, wrap it round loosely, not so loosely as it falls off, but loose enough that it's going to sit around the box but not be an absolute pain to get off. There, and then we can just check that you can slide it off easily. That's important. So it should hold the box without being too tight. So that's my finished tie there. And I have got that the wrong way around because that is the top. Doesn't matter, because look, I can just turn it round. It's a box, so it fits both ways. So I slide that back on again from that end, and then my join is underneath, which is where it should be. Obviously I turned the box over as I was trying to fiddle around with that. So that's my box with the belly band, and then to decorate the belly band, very simply, I'm going to just stick this across the middle. So not to each edge, because it's actually bigger than the centre there. So I'll pop that over like that. Actually, I might just slide this off so I can use my fingers to just make sure that's stuck down. There we go. Slide it back on again. That shows how easily it slides on and off. So that's what you want your belly band to look like. You could bed this down and stick it round. I don't want to. I'm going to leave it like that. Then my 2 bits of ribbon I'm just going to put on as crisscrosses. So I'm going to put some tear and tape on the back of my ribbon, because I want it to stick down well, but without using glue, which would just go through this type of ribbon. It's quite a thick ribbon, this one. It is lovely, but it is quite thick. It's just called Natural Trim. And it's part of the suite if you go online. I should have said it is an online exclusive only, this suite, but hey, they change all the time. So we're just going to take the backing off the sticky tape, hopefully leaving the tape on the ribbon, which we have done. And then I'm just going to crisscross these across the middle of my circle. That's one on, and now I'll put the second one on, crisscross like that. And then I'm very simply going to stick these on. So we'll stick the mug on first. I'll stick that on flat, or as flat as it will go, over the top of ribbon, which isn't very. So I'll just hold that on, make sure it's stuck. And then I should put the rest on. I think this doesn't want to stick at the bottom. You slide that off again. Just hold it for a minute until it does. Now I didn't miter the ends of the ribbon. You can if you want. It doesn't matter too much for this purpose. Dimensionals might have been better. It doesn't really want to stick over the ribbon, but never mind, we'll be fine. Then I'm going to have my, yeah, that's going to go on there, and I think again we'll just stick it. So I want the actual heart on the decor on my cup to face forwards. Do you know what? I might be best putting a dimensional behind there. Crafting on the run, folks, but it's going to stick better to that if I stick a dimensional behind there. It's flat on top of the mug, but it just needs, that's better, sticks better with that. And I am actually going to use a dimensional behind here. And before I forget, I need to stick my thanks so much in, which is going to just stick, where shall I put it? I might put it at the, no, I probably should have stuck it on before. Where shall I put it? Let's have it there. Okay, so that means I'll have a dimensional at that end and glue at the other end. Can't see my heart. I haven't put that on terribly well, have I? But you get the idea. And then I'll stick my cup on as well, just on the top, and my spoon. Perhaps the spoon's too much, I don't know. Just onto the bottom of my sentiment, there we go. I was thinking of adding some of the adhesive dots as well, but I think, to be honest, that's full enough of stuff, isn't it? So there is our box. And that will fit a couple of little sugar, you know, this sort of thin sugar things you get in cafes, and a couple of coffee sachets, and also it will fit a couple of biscuits such as Biscoff biscuits or whatever, and that will make just a rather nice little present to go with the card. So I hope you've liked my projects today. There is my card and my box. Move the rest so you can see them properly. And I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made them. I hope you have a go yourself. Let me know if you do, and whether you think these are good projects. Also, if you want me to do any other types of projects or any particular techniques, please do let me know. Thanks for joining me today. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and all of the measurements and details of how to make these two things will be on my blog. That's at craftycarolscards.co.uk. Thanks very much for joining me. Bye for now.